Hello, this is the Sovereign Woman, a space for women navigating power, discernment, and self-governance after menopause. At this stage of life, authority doesn't come from volume or visibility, it comes from clarity. Today, I want to talk about emotional intelligence and what happens when it stops being emotional labor. For a long time, emotional intelligence was framed as being good with people. It meant reading the room, anticipating reactions, softening delivery, smoothing tension before it escalated. Many of us women became exceptionally skilled at this. We were praised for it, for being adaptable, flexible, easy to work with. But what often went unnamed was how much of this so-called emotional intelligence required constant emotional vigilance. It asked us to stay alert, to stay adjustable, to stay available. I learned this early. As a child, I learned to read the emotional temperature of a room, the moods, the patience levels, the unspoken tensions, and then adjust myself accordingly. I learned to be sweet, amenable, ready. This wasn't co-regulation. It was anticipatory performing. I wasn't responding to what was happening. I was positioning myself in advance, preparing to adapt depending on the affect of others. It kept things calm, it kept people happy, and it quietly taught me to place my own internal state second. For a long time, I thought this was emotional intelligence, but everything changed after menopause. After menopause, something began to shift, not suddenly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. The reflex to manage other people's emotional states starts to loosen. You may notice you don't step in as quickly. You tolerate silence longer. You feel irritation where you once felt responsibility. You're much more aware of how much invisible work you've been doing. This can be unsettling. Many women worry they're becoming colder, less patient, or less kind. But what's actually happening is different. What's emerging is discernment. Here's the distinction that matters in this season of life. Emotional labor is about managing outcomes. Emotional intelligence is about perceiving reality. Let me repeat that. Emotional labor is about managing outcomes. Emotional intelligence is about perceiving reality. For decades, those two were collapsed into one for women. If you were emotionally intelligent, you were expected to smooth conflict, absorb discomfort, translate clarity into palatability, carry relational weight so others didn't have to. Post-menopause, many women stopped consenting to this arrangement, not out of anger and not out of indifference, but out of self-respect. You still perceive what's happening. You just no longer assume responsibility for fixing it. This isn't withdrawal, it's recalibration. It's a rebalance. This shift often shows up in small, ordinary moments. You don't explain yourself as much. You pause before responding. You leave conversations earlier without apology. You let someone be disappointed without rushing to relieve it. I remember noting this for the first time when I didn't step into smooth an awkward moment and realized quietly that nothing terrible happened. The discomfort passed, the situation resolved itself, and I didn't feel depleted afterward. That was new. Not dramatic, just clear. This is emotional intelligence governed from the inside. The sovereign woman doesn't abandon emotional intelligence. She refines it. She understands that compassion does not require self-erasure. Clarity does not require cushioning. Kindness does not require compliance. She can feel deeply without being run by what she feels. She can understand others without managing them. She knows what is hers to carry and what is not. That knowing is calm and it is earned. This is the work of becoming internally governed. Not louder, not harder, but clearer. We are no longer governed by the changing winds, but by ourselves. If this resonated, you'll find companion essays and notes on Substack under the Midlife Intelligencer. You don't need to become someone new to live this way. You just need to trust the clarity you've earned. Please join us in this series about the sovereign woman. Hit that subscribe button to make sure you do not miss an episode. And thank you so much for joining us today.